everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Abby and I love macrame, DIY home decor, and a good thrift find. Today we're going to be doing a living room refresh. Let's get started.
Here's a look at our living room before. It's not in that bad of shape, but the only thing we've done since moving in is buy our furniture. I really love our couch. It does get pretty pilly, but I love the color and size. I did compromise with my husband on getting these recliners, but I do love the gray color of them. And then we have our bookshelf, which is so great for decorating. So jumping right in, the first thing I'm going to do for this room is repot this plant into this brown planter. I've had this thing lying around, and I definitely think it's going to look nicer on our shelf with the brown versus the green because I've been decorating with a lot of browns lately. I am by far no expert in plants. In fact, I'm really crossing my fingers that I can keep this plant alive through the winter. If you know plants, please feel free to leave any suggestions or comments below. So my first DIY for this room is to create a simple beaded garland. I'm just using twine that I already had lying around, as well as this bag of wooden beads I got from Amazon several months ago. I'll be sure to link a similar bag of beads in the description below for you guys. But the first thing I'm doing is just creating a pattern I like with my beads, considering this comes in various sizes. You could also do the same size bead all the way through. It's really just up to your personal preference. But I decided to do a pattern with my beads, so I'm doing small, medium, large, medium, small, and I'm just going to continue that all the way through. Once you have your design figured out, you can then sort your beads by size, and this just makes it easier to pull and string your beads through, but you're just going to continue this until you have your desired length. You'll then want to create 2 tassels for either end of your beaded garland. So to do this, you're going to take your twine and wrap it around something several times. In my case, I used my phone case and I wrapped this around about 20 times. And then you're going to take the end of your garland and string that through and then tie it twice, securing your tassel in place. Once that's done, you can then cut the ends of your twine and brush your twine through. And then the next thing we're going to do is create a gathering knot to create our tassel. So you're just going to cut another piece of twine and loop it and then wrap it around several times. You'll then take the end of that twine and put it through the loop and then pull up at the top. And this secures your gathering knot. You'll then just cut off that extra piece and then cut the end of the tassels to match. And that completes your beaded garland. The next thing we're going to do is create a macrame table runner for this little half wall next to our front door. The former owners left this thin black table runner, but it is definitely worn out and this area was just needing something new. For this project, I cut 24 18-foot long strands. I then met the end of each strand and created a loop, and then I took a foot-long wooden dowel and attached each strand using the lark's head knot, so putting the loop over and pulling the ends through. And then once all my strands were attached to my wooden dowel, I just made sure they were evenly placed and hung it on a wall. You'll then want to cut another piece of cord to create a straight line of the double half hitch all the way across, and in doing so you'll want to leave a fairly large gap between your double half hitch and your wooden dowel, and this will create the fringe at one end of your table runner. So for the first part of my design, I'm going to leave those first 2 strands at the end hanging and then take the next 4 strands to create a square knot. So I'm going to place the far left strand over and the far right over, under, and through and pull tight, and then placing the far right strand over and the far left over, under, and through to create my first square knot. And then we're just going to continue with square knots all the way across. So once you have your first full row of square knots all the way across, you're going to create another row of square knots, only this time using the two far left strands of one square knot and the two far right strands of the one next to it to create a square knot in between. And you're just going to do this all the way across. And so basically, as you create your rows of square knots, you're going to leave two more strands hanging at the end, and this will eventually form a triangle of square knots. So once your square knots are complete, you're then going to take that far strand at either end and you're going to create a double half hitch going down to complete your triangle. And in my case, what I did, because I had that extra strand hanging on either side from my straight line of double half hitch, I went ahead and incorporated it in my double half hitch going down the triangle, and that way that strand wouldn't be hanging and wouldn't be able to fray. Then, leaving some space, I'm going to create another V of the double half hitch for my next section of this design. So for the next section of this design, I'm going to be creating rows of 5 square knots all the way down and along the V. And then again, finishing the section off with another double half hitch along those square knots. Then to create what will be the center of this design, you're going to again want to leave some space and then create 2 diagonal lines of the double half hitch on either side, stopping at about 14 knots. And as you do this, you will want to make sure that both sides line up. You'll then continue the diagonal line of the double half hitch from the V above, and this will eventually create what appears to be 2 X's. Then in the center, we're going to create a diamond of square knots, doing 2 square knots at the top, 2 square knots on either side, and 2 square knots at the bottom. We're then going to continue the lines of the diagonal double half hitch all the way down on either side to create a diamond in the center. You'll then continue with another section of the rows of 5 square knots. And another with a triangle of square knots. And then finish with another straight line of the double half hitch, again using an extra piece of cord. And once your design is complete, you can then take it off of the wall and remove the wooden dowel. Then cut each loop and trim the ends. And that completes this DIY macrame table runner. The next thing I'm going to do is refresh this stool next to our couch. I'm just going to sand it down really well and then paint it black using leftover paint from our bedroom makeover. I really love the shape of this stool. It's super unique and I found it for $15 on Facebook Marketplace. I ended up doing about 3 coats of paint on this stool, but I really love the way that it turned out. So my last project for this room is going to be a Toledo sign. That is where we live, and I've been wanting to make this sign for a while now. So I'm just taping out the edges of my board, and then I'm actually moving the hanger because we are making this vertical instead of horizontal. First I'm going to paint the background white, and then I'm going to go ahead and sketch out my letters. So to do this, I am measuring the halfway point on either side of my board and making a grid to be sure that I can make each one of my letters 5 inches tall and 4 inches wide. And then with each of my letters sketched out, I'm going to very carefully trace over each one with black paint. I then touched up any imperfections, but I think this sign turned out great. I also rolled out a new rug and added these new jute baskets to our TV console. Our dog Corbin didn't like getting his toys out of the metal basket because he was afraid of it, so I think the jute basket will work far better. I also wanted to disguise some of the movies we had up here, and I think these baskets will give it a more uniformed look. And then I couldn't help but switch out the throw pillows. I've been wanting some faux leather throw pillows in here for a while, and then I just love these black and white ones, and I couldn't wait to incorporate them in our space. And here's a look at the living room now.
Love how all these small projects turned out. The subtle changes to this room really make a huge difference, and now it just feels fresh and ready for fall. If you guys like this video, don't forget to click the like button below, and of course, don't forget to subscribe for more macrame, DIY home decor, and household projects. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye!